welcome back everyone to the video series Dicky Show on MTV that wants chaos to ensue. That's right, we're talking about The Challenge Season 39 Battle for a New Champion, Episode 5, and that is correct. We have finally gotten to the chaos portion, the second stage of this season. But before we get to any of that, let's start off where last episode left off, and that was Kyland winning against Huey in the elimination, everybody coming back to the challenge house to find a giant timer ticking down to when the chaos portion officially begins. And everybody seems very excited about the chaos portion. I know for me personally, the control phase was getting a little, a little bit boring. I mean, I like the experiment of one giant team. It's never really been done on the challenge before, but also I'm very happy that it didn't last for like another episode or 3 more weeks. I feel like this is the perfect time to move on to the chaos section. With so much excitement and speculation, there are a lot of theories being thrown around the challenge house. We see a conversation between Jay, Nerys, and Asaf, wondering what could possibly be the next stage. Are they going to be run in pairs, where these pairs will stay together for a good portion of the game? Heavy hitters and mercenaries were mentioned by Jay. Maybe it was a lucky guess. Maybe they're just throwing out anything and everything just to cover all the bases, just so they have thought of every single possibility before they meet up with TJ. Now, it is at this point we hear of Nerys' alliance, not necessarily the US alliance, but everybody in the game that she is working with. At the moment, we have Michelle, Mariah, Raven, Olivia, Colleen, Ed, Kyland, Asaf, Jay, Horacio, and Corey L. The next day, we hear from Zara about her UK alliance, which is significantly smaller than Nerys' alliance, the US alliance, whatever we're calling alliance on the other side of the house, which we will see plays a huge factor later on in this episode. But for now, everybody dons their challenge gear to meet up with TJ at a runway for this week's daily challenge called Upside Down World. This daily challenge will be run in pairs, where both players will be tied to this giant propeller that is going to be on the side of this giant truck. What they have to do is, as they spin, they have to try to grab rings that are up at the top of the truck, throw them at poles or near poles for varied points. The pair that can score the most points will win into power, win into safety, which is very important because the game has just changed. We are in the chaos portion. This is a prime opportunity to win, be safe for the first week, and then be able to see what the lay of the land will be for the next couple of weeks. I have to say that this daily challenge I thought was very fun to watch. I think it was very fun to see the competitors do. Truck daily challenges are always a spectacle, and this one is no exception. To the players being spun on this giant propeller, I thought the way that this challenge ran was very smooth. This came down to the players' abilities or inabilities to do this challenge, but I thought that this was a really fun challenge to watch and would be an even funner challenge to do. Now let's get into some of the performances. You have 2 teams that were standouts. You have Callum and Colleen, Corey L and Raven. We move on to some of the not so good performances, and 2 teams that did really bad were Kieran and Zara, Emmanuel and Berna. Kieran and Zara looked out of sorts. They weren't able to really find the rhythm, as their round ended with Kieran saying they only scored about 25 points. And then Berna and Emmanuel are friends, are alliance members in the game, but working together did not work out well. Emmanuel kind of was a control freak during this challenge and was taking all of the rings, where Berna said that she only really threw 1 ring, and Emmanuel took everything and was trying to score, basically do it all by himself, which did not work out for him. And at the end of the challenge, Corey L and Raven won into power, won into safety. They are the first players to win power in the chaos portion, but just as the name suggested, TJ threw them into a bit of chaos as he called them down and put them right on the spot, asking them to name a man to nominate to go into this week's elimination. Now, coming into this mini deliberation between Coriel and Raven, you would think that they have a lot of overlap in their games. They were in the US Alliance, they're in this Nerys Alliance that was talked about earlier on in this episode. They should be able to figure out a man's name with no problems. Wrong. Coriel instantly throws out Kieran's name, which that's Raven's Boothang. this season. So she says, no, I'm rejecting that name. What about Emmanuel? Corey L says, no. I am going to be stubborn on 3 names that I'm not going to say, and that's Callum, Jay, and Emmanuel. Finally, they come up with a name, and they say Asaf's name, which catches Asaf by surprise. I mean, there was points last episode and even in the start of this episode where Asaf was saying how much he loves Corey L, how much they are best friends, how close they are in this game, how much Asaf would do to save Corey L, to be there for him. Yet, the first hint of power, Corey L throws Asaf to the wolves. And Asaf is upset, calling out Corey L, and Corey L claps back saying, I've only known you for 2 weeks, dude. Coming back to the challenge house, Raven throws Corey somewhat under the bus, saying that they were going back and forth on names, but because they had to say a guy's name, she kind of gave up the main decision to Corey. Many people are kind of skeptical of Corey's decision and where his cards lie. Now, one person that is pretty upset with Corey and Raven's decision is Michelle, mainly for how this could backfire on her. Michelle and Asaf were partnered up in the challenge, and yes, TJ did say a man's name, but this is the chaos portion, and who knows what that means for their partners that they are partnered up with in the challenge. So Michelle is upset because it feels like Corey L put her game in jeopardy without even giving 2 thoughts about it. So at the bar, Michelle is telling Corey L why she's upset with his decision to say Asaf's name. Corey L tried to apologize, saying, I didn't think about that. I didn't think I was putting you in danger when TJ said pick a man's name. This is based off of pure speculation and just the fear of the unknown. Michelle doesn't want to see an elimination this early. She's just worried about her own game and having to compete early on in the season. On a lighter note, we see some sparks between Nerys and Horacio, and we hear from Olivia, who is very close and BFFs with both of them, at least at the time of this filming, and saying, this is kind of weird. They've known each other for quite a while, never really showed interest in one another until this very moment. Maybe it's just a very slow burn of a romance between them. I did an exit interview with Huhui just last week, and she said how surprised she was to hear that Horacio and Nerys were dating, and she seemed very close with Horacio on the season, and to hear that she didn't really see the sparks between them is kind of interesting as well. We get up the next day to hear that Asaf had a dream about the elimination and that maybe he should pick Kieran. He doesn't want to go up against somebody deemed quote unquote a layup. He wants to go up against the best, and he deems that best Kieran. So he's telling everybody he wants to go up against Kieran, he wants to face off against him, and he wants to see how well he stacks up against him. Before the deliberation, we see a conversation between James and Corey L, where maybe this is a budding new alliance, as Corey L feels like he is getting some heat from his US alliance, the alliance with Nerys and all the Challenge 38 and all those players because of his decisions, and James is being cordial with him and being nice to him and talking strategy with him, which Corey L wants. So maybe this is just a start of a new alliance between Corey and James, but we will put a pin in that as we go to the nomination ceremony and hear that Asaf calls out Corey L again, calling him a liar, and then also turning over to Kieran saying, I would like to face off against Kieran. What do you say? We get down to the votes. 4 players vote for Emmanuel, including Mariah, who is going against her own alliance, who is voting for Kieran. She is voting to send in Emmanuel because she is booed up with James at the moment, who is best friends with Kieran. And also she says that she's very close with Zara. So Mariah is basically in the UK alliance at this point. Let's just be for real. But as we saw with the discrepancy of numbers, the Nerys US alliance greatly outweighs the UK alliance numbers. So we have Kieran nominated to go into this week's elimination with Asaf. I'm sure the whole house is thinking, well, that's it. It's going to be Asaf versus Kieran. Everybody heads down to meet up with TJ at the arena, where TJ then calls Asaf and Kieran to join him on the arena floor. But this is when TJ says that he has something else up his sleeves. He says, to be the best, you got to beat the best, and calls out for a champion to join them on the arena floor, which is none other than 4-time champ Jordan Wisely. We have Asaf, who is excited to possibly be going up against a 4-time champ. Kieran is wondering who this Jordan geezer is, and Kylan is up on the stage. He has his newly printed stand card for Jordan, and he is just all giddy with excitement to be able to see Jordan in an elimination right in front of his face. After some banter back and forth between TJ and Jordan, where TJ is asking Jordan what he thinks about the cast, is there a champion among them? We get down to the draw, which Jordan then has to pull out one poll out of 3 that are in sand. One poll has Kieran's name, the other one has Asaf's name, and the third one is a mystery. My opinion is that it's probably Champ's choice, but we don't know. TJ leaves it a mystery. I hope we will get to see what that third poll will say in future weeks as we're going through the chaos stage. But Jordan reaches out for a poll, pulls out Kieran's name. So we have in this week's elimination, Jordan versus Kieran in Kings of the Hill elimination. In this elimination, there are 2 ramps with 3 lights on each ramp. The lights will be blinking randomly, and the players are gonna have to race to try to turn off the lights. The first player to turn a light off will get a point. Most points in a round will win the round. Best 2 of 3 rounds wins the elimination. If Kieran wins, he gets to stay in the game like nothing happened. Where on the other side, if Jordan wins, Kieran is eliminated from the game, as well as $10,000 is taken from the prize fund and given to Jordan to put in his bank account. I like this elimination. I like this style of gameplay. There is one thing I would like to change. I wish that there was no time limit and rather there was a specific point total to get to win the round each round. So say the first player to 7 points wins the round. In the first round, Kieran wins 6-3, and it even looked like at the end of round 1, Jordan is wincing a little bit, walking off camera, not trying to move his one shoulder, but then he comes back for round 2 perfectly fine, and he even starts off the round giving Kieran 2 points. So Jordan wants to start off the second round in a deficit, and then he comes roaring back, and Jordan actually wins the round 7-4. It's all tied up going into the third and final round, and this is where Jordan employs some strategy, where early in the round he's able to get to the lights first and turn them off, but he also waits there at the light. Knowing that he's going to get the point, he just wants to waste as much time as possible, employing some strategy, so he's working smarter, not harder, and it is pretty close for the third round, where Jordan is able to win 4-3, and he gets his final point as TJ is ringing the buzzer. Again, I just think that is more clear-cut and transparent if they're going towards a point total of like first to 5 points in a round wins the round, first to 7 points wins the round, instead of just left up to a time limit. But Jordan wins this elimination, gets 10K. Kieran loses, he's eliminated from the game. He gets very emotional. He wants to be a challenge champ so bad, but not this time around. This is where we leave off with Jordan trying to give a rousing speech to the rest of the contestants, the other 19 contestants left in the game, and Emmanuel turns his back on Jordan, turns around and says that he would love to face off against Jordan in elimination. Jordan says, well, I hope you get the chance, and then Jordan turns around, runs out of the arena with a 10K check from TJ, and the prize fund is left at $396,000 to end this episode. This is the start of the chaos portion as one champ comes in and one champ leaves with $10,000. This is not looking good for the contenders as we have 9 more champs ready to jump into the arena and take more money out of the prize fund. They could be taking $100,000 at the end of these episodes, which is wild to think about. But we'll see what's going to happen as we move further in the game. But that is it for this week's episode. What did you think about this episode? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about the beginning of the chaos stage? Are you happy that we're getting into the second stage? Are you sad that we're done with the control phase? Let me know down in the comment section below. What did you think about this week's daily challenge called Upside Down World? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know why or why not down in the comment section below. And do you think Corey L made the right decision by putting in Asaf instead of anybody else? What do you think about Jordan's performance in this elimination? And would you like to see Kieran come back for another challenge season. Let me know anything and everything down in the comment section below. I want to give a special shout out thank you to everyone who supports me over at patreon.com/angelcakevids. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watching this video up to this point. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 39 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.